Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to SATAL 2020. I'm Moltar, and we are here with another Diamond League match before we go on break for a couple weeks because Moltar has to move. And, real life takes priority sometimes, even though the virtual jets rule a lot of our lives. But here we are, TAW taking on Eclipse Task Force in a Diamond League brawl. I think this is between Krasnodar and Mozdok. So flatland, open ground, who's going to come out on top? Here we go. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here on the deck at Krasnodar with Eclipse Task Force. I'm joined by Billy Waugh Merlin, the Mustache Man, and the Englishman, Low Blow. How are you gentlemen doing? Billy, we haven't seen you for a while, so we start with you. You said your power went out from the latest tropical storm. You seem to have survived. You were not dead, so glad to see that.
Yeah, no, we had a little power outage, a little internet outage. It was interesting here. A lot of flooding. Nothing super bad or anything too crazy like that, so we're pretty fortunate there, but enough to take me out of commission for a few hours. So
well, I'm glad
nice
you're
to be back, though.
Low Blow, what about you?
What did you call me? I'm Australian.
Well, you live in England. You know, Australia was a prison for the English, so maybe you're just, I don't know. I don't even know.
Oh my god, dude.
Oh man, here we go, folks. Welcome to SATAL on a Saturday morning.
Yep,
that is for sure.
So anyway, let's jump in. I got to tell you who's flying. It's Eclipse Task Force taking on TAW. Eclipse Task Force is being represented by Aspen in a that is not the right one. Aspen in an F-18, Riker and Breeze. If this will load, please load. That is not the right one either. That's Aspen. Why you do this, DCS? Anyway, Alpha Whiskey in an F-14, and then Dizzy and Kingston in JF-17s. There is Breeze and Riker in JF-17s, but I guess I have to fix whatever one that's freaking out about. So I'm gonna fix that. Yeah, I'm gonna fix that real quick. But Low Blow, you didn't say how you were doing. These guys are gonna be taking off here in just a moment. So how are you doing?
Yeah.
I know you have a newborn at home.
Yeah, I'm good, man, and I'm suffering in Tarkov, so it's all good. No, I'm fine. Yeah.
What are your guys' expectations for today?
Well, I can read off the stats real quick if you want. So, TAW sitting at the top of the division here, 100% win rate against 33% for ETF. Kill death ratio 3.04 for TAW versus 0.6 for ETF there. Kills 70 for TAW, 50 for ETF, and deaths 23 versus 84. So, in a nutshell, TAW are more lethal, but they are also massively more survivable, just based on the stats there. So, I'm expecting a TAW win today.
Billy, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to side with Low Blow there, just based on the stats he was kind of rattling off there. That all drives with me, and then I just know TAW itself is a force to be reckoned with within SATAL here. Not to knock on Eclipse Task Force. They're quite formidable themselves. So I do think we're probably going to see a close match today. But yeah, if I had to pick a winner, I'm probably going to have to go with TAW here.
Right. Now, Low Blow, are you able to drive the attack view? It's playing.
Yeah, I can drive it.
There we go.
How good
Okay.
it go.
Just making sure that was all good. So Low Blow is going to be driving the attack view. It's going to ease me. I'm going to try and focus on 2 cameras today instead of all 4. I'm going to use the 4, so we still do have the quad grid, but I'm going to focus on cameras 1 and 2 and flip back and forth, and then if I need to use 3 and 4, I can. But Low Blow is going to be driving the attack view camera, which you guys can see, so he's going to have full control over that and hopefully provide some better views without me royally screwing everything up. So I'm trying to divvy things out. And he said he could run the attack view, and if I could have the ability to run cameras, I would, but unfortunately I can't. And something else I was going to do, but evidently there's a problem with the tracks in the latest DCS versions from October that I wasn't aware about. You can't replay your track and see your cockpit view, which is weird. So I was trying it with some of the TAW guys, and from the October on to now, you can't get into your cockpit, even in personal tracks, which is really weird.
I'll tell you what, I've been having a problem, and I actually want to put this out there to the chat to see if anyone else is experiencing this. But since the patch previous to the hotfix and the hotfix, when I go into single player in the Hornet and a few other modules, my throttle doesn't respond, but I can go into adjust controls and everything moves in there and works in there. But once I'm in single player, it just does not respond whatsoever.
Well, that just sounds like DCS doesn't like you.
Right. Multiplayer works no problem. So I mean, it's not a huge deal for me. But I tried to go to the Raven 1 campaign. It was just no dice. So yeah, I don't know. I was trying to go through the forums and find something on it. I saw nothing in there, or seemingly anyone complaining about it. But I have no clue there. So not to throw my problems out there, but I figure the chat might have a solution for that. Never know.
So what do you guys think about ETF rocking 4 JF-17s here?
I mean, the SD-10 is a very capable missile. I am trying to get the TAW guys so we can see what exactly they're flying. But the SD-10 at high altitude is very, very capable. So they do need to be weary of it. I mean, it is effectively a Mark 60 at high altitude, so they got to be aware. But they are very limited on weapons. They've only got 4 SD-10s and 2 of the PL-5s, so they can take more than the Mirage, but I think all the other aircraft are at a bit of advantage in loadouts. But let's talk about what these guys are, who's flying for these guys. So we've got Red Core 6, Newbie 2, and Savior, all in 18s for TAW. Here's another view of Savior's aircraft. And then we have Frosty in another 18, and then we have Darkside Rob and Sineg in a 14 and a 15. So Sineg is the man to watch, I think, in these scenarios in his F-15, because we've seen him a couple times take off late and then come in very, 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 very fast, like Mach 1.8, and just obliterate people. But we've also seen him come in very, very fast, and he himself get obfuscated from the match. So is it going to work? I don't know. But it's always cool to see him take off and come in at the speed of light and unleash some slammers.
And we got the holiday livery just in time for the holidays.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Tomcat.
That's very festive. So we're getting there, folks.
Yeah, you've got some festive sweaters there, don't you? On your
website? No, the ugly holiday sweaters. Yeah, we're getting back into that time of year. That is definitely going to be a popular item here coming up. I got a few new ideas in the works too that it should be popping up here shortly. Yeah, new website is up, by the way, guys. So the link in there, but I haven't got a chance to change that out yet. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so no, I'm looking forward to the holiday season. It's going to be fun this year.
Now on the aircraft.
Sorry, go ahead.
On the aircraft, what side do you guys think has the advantage? Because you've got the JF-17s, there's 4 of them, I think, for Eclipse Task Force, and then you have, on the flip side, 4 18s on TAW's side. So PPLI advantage going for TAW in this one. There is AWACS, if I remember correctly, so they do have data link without PPLI. But who do you guys give the advantage to based on solely aircraft? Loblo, let's start with you.
Well, I think the addition of AWACS on this map evens the playing field quite significantly. So, you know, maybe once they're getting closer and down low, the PPLI will help out a little bit. But I think you know, when in the BVR engagement, both sides are going to have pretty good SA due to AWACS. Yeah.
Yeah, AWACS is here. You got the KC. Are they? No, we don't have AWACS.
No,
Never
there's no
mind.
AWACS.
They're tankers. There are no AWACS. I
So
lied.
PPLI, much more important.
Guys,
I wouldn't.
If you didn't know, the new Air Force radar dish is a refueling boom. You didn't know that, okay? So, but I lied. They're tankers.
I wouldn't take away from the Jeff's PPLI capability. It does fairly well, sharing that information between one another if you're linked up properly. But they're not. They're not, what is it? What is ETF is? What's their makeup? It's how many JF-17s?
4 JF-17s,
Oh, so
an
they're all
18,
four,
and a
okay.
14. So both sides have a singleton 14. Both sides have a singleton. Eclipse Task Force is a singleton 18. TAW is a singleton 15. And then Eclipse Task Force has 4 17s, and TAW has 4 18s.
So we can expect the similar tactics with the F-15 from TAW here. It's going to get up. It's going to try to sneak around to possibly the rear, or it's going to basically force the ETF guys to look in a separate direction than the majority of the TAW force. At least that's traditionally what they do with that additional or off or dissimilar fighter to the rest of the group. We'll see if that's what happens here today. I'm guessing that's what's going to go down here. I'm expecting to see where we see that F-15 get up to about Mach 1.7 or 1.8 or something crazy like that.
Yeah, he was cruising that one time.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm gonna assume that's the game plan here, or at least part of it. So ETF probably well versed in the fact that they may be doing this. So did they factor this into their game plan? And once they saw that F-15 spooling up, or on the list there, did how did they go about dealing with that here?
Now, speaking about that F-15, Sineg is just now taking off.
And late, they do this too. They did this in the last match as well. The F-15, I believe, was a late to the party and was kept separately, much separate from the rest of the fours.
Boblo, you think he's going to make it there on time? I mean, this is a decent ingress. I mean, this is Mozdok against Krasnodar, so he's got some distance.
Well, I think it depends on how. Sorry, go ahead, Billy.
No, I was going to say there's quite a bit of distance between them. The timing on that is interesting.
I mean, Sineg right now is 71 miles behind the forward line of operating troops there for Tor, and I think if Tor just drag, then it's not going to be an issue. He's going to have plenty of time to catch up.
Right.
So it all depends on how aggressive Tor are off the bat, whether they just want to, and having seen Tor fly in the past, I think they're quite patient. So I'd expect them to fly in a manner that allows Sineg to get in the fight, but we'll see about that. Yeah, this is a 255-mile distance between these two air bases. How do you think the JF-17 is going to cope with that?
I think it'll be okay, as long as they don't burn in the whole way. They do have tankers like 40 miles outside their base, so if they do need to top off with some fuel, they can. I think people just need to be a little bit conservative. Let's take a look. So if
the 800s or 1,000 is the question, and are they carrying center lines?
Let me find one here. So if we look at them, they have 3 bags.
Yeah, the Jeff has quite a bit of legs at that point with that much fuel, especially at what looks like 35 Angel 35 there. Yeah, they'll be fine on gas, even once you get through all of that. The JF-17 is pretty impressive with the fuel consumption. I mean, obviously it doesn't have the thrust to weight ratio of its clone, I guess, or however you want, or not its clone, but its
counterpart. We should
counterpart. Say. Yeah, thank you. Its counterpart there, the F-16, right? It doesn't also have that same fuel flow issue that we all know about about the F-16. So it where it doesn't have that thrust to weight, it does have that fuel consumption benefit. So I have noticed that myself in the past, especially at high altitudes. But obviously, you don't really have the same. You have the same problem with the F-16 there, with the wing surface is not great enough to really give you a lot of control at high altitude as well. So.
Sorry, guys. Just
So
fixing
now
the
we're
camera
closing
here.
in through 60 miles now.
Oh dear. Hold on. Hold
for
on. I totally wrecked this. Give me a second.
Okay.
You guys can keep talking. I just wrecked the cameras because I'm a moron.
All right, so TAC still running here. We're coming through 55
No,
miles
it shouldn't be running.
now.
It should be paused. So you may have to reconnect. Just talk about what's going on while I fix the cameras because I pushed the wrong button.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to reconnect
Well,
you. So,
my question is here: do we see early shots from the F-14s? What do the F-14s do? I think with the simple fact that each side has one of those in play, the Phoenix obviously is going to play some bit of a factor here. With each side only having 4, are they used in a specific manner, or is that 14 just kind of in the fight? We've seen, both approaches before in the past. I tend to think we're going to see something a bit more calculated from both of these teams here regarding that F-14. I'm not sure if we see it used the way we've seen teams like this, like 64th, use it in recent matches. But I do think we're going to see some calculated use, just based on this fact that each side has one, and it's not as if that they're going off that for the data link or anything like that with no AWACS in place. So that I'm guessing it's purely for that Phoenix and nothing else there.
with regards to Sineg showing up late to the party, it depends on how much damage the tall Hornets can do. Because if they're able to shred pretty hard into the JF-17s, and then all of a sudden you've got that Eagle showing up high and fast with all the SA in the world, that could be quite decisive as well.
Low blow, you're an instructor now.
No, thanks.
Sorry about that, guys. I was pushing fast forward and rewind to try and get one of the cameras in sync, and I was hitting the one that controlled all the cameras instead of just the one, and that was bad. But we didn't miss anything because it's a long egress. We just kind of skipped some stuff. That's the cool part. So we didn't see all of the ingress. But distance between these two is now 65 miles, and we have the first missile coming off. It is a Mark 60 being launched by Alpha Whiskey, so we're going to grab it, and here it comes.
Hang on a second.
Climbing through 40,000 feet.
There's a desync between your game then and this, because this is showing 44 miles between the forward-most JF-17s and Hornets. 42 miles right now.
Looks like.
Well, there may be now. I think it's probably fine. You should be at 30 minutes and like 5 seconds.
I'm guessing those 18s on TAW had cameras, because the moment those shots came off the rail, all the 18s defensive, evasive, cold right now, dragging back towards Sineg. So this is where
let's take a look.
Not sure who referenced.
No cameras. Back. But what could have happened is if you zoom in, the field of view does make it so contrails are definitely visible.
Right. So they saw it. Right. We
would think.
Well before pitbull range, they are cold, dragging, and pulling towards Sineg. Now we're also seeing ETF pull some evasive maneuvers themselves after only letting go that one AIM 54 Alpha. So yeah, it does seem like that initial Phoenix shot was definitely part of the game plan here. We are seeing them spread out quite a bit more and cover a bit more territory than TAW. TAW staying very tight. Savior off to the flank there to the north. I'm turned around. Is that right? Yeah, north, right? And then now we have Dark Side Rob and his F-14 coming in, possibly with a Phoenix shot of his own here once the pot is nice and stirred up. But there it is, right? Boom, there we go. And then Sineg now pushing to the opposite flank, well to the south of this, towards the mountains there.
Now we've got the first Phoenix coming off the rail from TAW, Darkside Rob there at 52 miles, if that's sorted on Dizzy, and the rest of the Hornets recommitting now at 37 miles. As for Sineg, he is still way out of the fight here, 43 miles to the south down there.
Now I think he'll catch up rather quickly. So he is flying at 700 knots. I think what he's trying to do is enter late, have a flanking maneuver, come in as these guys are discombobulated, and try and cause some chaos inside the Eclipse Task Force side. So now we're back with the Phoenix. It's at 65,000 feet, 2,800 knots. We can't tell who it's descending on yet. I think it's targeting Aspen, if that's a good judge. Let's grab it so I can give you guys split view. So let's give you guys split view of this missile coming in. And it looks like it is indeed targeting Aspen. And Aspen, I think, is going to be in a bit of trouble as he's pretty high, 30,000 feet, 300 knots. And this thing is inside 7 miles, still at 1,600 knots for speed on the missile, on that telephone pole. And Aspen is now defending 4 miles away now. Aspen needs to do something drastic to get away from this. Still in gate, under 300 knots. Phoenix is at 1,300 knots, 27,000 feet. And I think Aspen just waited too late, got caught, and he's going to pay the piper here as this thing continues to ingress. And here it is. Boom! And Aspen is the first casualty of this match. So I think he just had to think that Phoenix wasn't going to have the smash on it. That it did as it got to his position. But that thing went up to 70,000 feet and came down.
Credit to TAW. Beautiful opening play there. They really, I mean, this hopefully, this can kind of be dissected at one point, because this is, I think, one of the nicer opening moves we've seen in quite some time. They feigned in and drew to what possibly could have been two different fighters there, at the end being Darkside Rob with a great Phoenix shot. Once everybody on the other side had already kind of been stirred up and was assuming shots were coming in, they didn't know when those shots would be arriving, and it took quite longer than they were probably expecting, and I think that was to the advantage of TAW there for sure.
Right. So now Eclipse Task Force is a man down, with Aspen getting deleted by that high long-range Phoenix that came from, what, 40 miles or so? Yeah. But that's the danger of sitting up high against incoming Mark 60s. They burn for a full minute, and they are dangerous if you do not defend and get ahead of your airplane. If you're just relying on your sensors, man, you are in for a bad time. But another one being launched by Darkside Rob, and there's a counter launch from Alpha Whiskey, and this one, I don't know if it's tracking, but let's get a look at its counterpart here that was launched from Alpha Whiskey. It looks like Alpha Whiskey is defending the Phoenix from Darkside Rob, and here is the one that is coming from Alpha Whiskey onto the TAW side. But I think the one that was targeted at Alpha Whiskey is going to be easily defeated, as it's already down under 1,500 knots. Its intended target is 6 miles away and already cold. So Alpha Whiskey, I think, much better than what we saw at Aspen, recognized the incoming threat and defended appropriately, and now he's out expending the missile since it's off of its booster stage, and that missile is totally trashing out 500 knots.
You'll just need to give me control attack you again, Malta.
Sineg still very high to the south, Mach 1.5 and increasing slowly at this point. But he is watching the fight and approaching around from the flank here. I'm curious.
We'll have a look at this.
Riker Breeze has sorted that.
Darkside Rob coming in at Mach 1.5 against Dizzy Rio here, now through 9 miles. Whew.
I don't even know that he sees him, though, because he's not putting himself in a decent position. And I don't know that either one of the Eclipse Task Force guys see Darkside Rob. He's just flying directly over him. He's right over top of Dizzy and Kingston.
So much speed, so much altitude from TAW right now. It is ridiculous. 2 planes, very high and very fast, capable of coming in here and wreaking havoc at any point.
Well, Darkside Rob flies directly over Kingston and Dizzy, and then launches an MK-60 at Alpha Whiskey, so he's still over top of Dizzy and Kingston, and nobody is the wiser for this position.
I don't know if those jets can do a whole lot about it. Their ability to get altitude, and I'm curious if the SD-10 is they might be able to drive him down from that altitude, but I don't know if they're going to be able to get him up there. So,
well, and Alpha Whiskey barely is able to notch an incoming Phoenix. He notched it at the last second, still alive, so he's able to stay alive for that one. But the amazing thing is how intertwined these guys are, and nobody has any idea where Darkside Rob is.
Yeah. He's like a satellite over the top right now.
Well, not anymore. He's down to 10,000 feet.
Mach 1.7 at the moment.
What? I'm seeing him up at 43,000 on the TAC view. You sure?
Oh, sorry. I'm looking at Alpha Whiskey. Yeah. At Darkside Rob's at 44,000 feet. Now Dizzy is in a bit of a pickle. He's going to be dizzy if this thing ends up coming in, and Dizzy gets slammed by a close launch 120 that came from Savior. So this is just a combobulation of aircraft all intertwined, and it's unfortunate. Eclipse Task Force had some serious opportunities to be able to make things happen, but Darkside Rob flew from north to south virtually unimpeded. He didn't get any kills, but just he was right for the picking.
Break. Have a look at this now. Sineg coming in from the south, sorting on Riker and Breeze, and he's coming in at Mach 1.8. Can you see this?
Full boat of 120s coming in at Mach 1.8, and here we go, folks. These are not going to be easy to get away from. I don't care what you do. These things are. He's
just twizzed on Alpha Whiskey and Kingston there, and now he's coming out cold with an SD-10 on him.
And he gets taken down.
He eats the SD-10, tries to get off too much at one time on that approach. ETF seemingly to the wise to it, and now has avoided what looks to be most of those 120 shots.
Well, now it's Red Core 6 now that has an incoming Phoenix, and he's not notching very well. Is he going to be able to get away from it? It was really close when I moved to him. Where did it go? It was right here. Well, there was one here.
So
it must have flown by it, but now he's got an SD-10. He's flying headlong into it, and that SD-10 we can see out there from 5 miles. He waits to try and get a 120C off of his own, but I don't know that he's going to be able to get away from this SD-10. 1 mile, half mile. He's trying to get into a quick notch, tries to drive it into the floor, but no, the SD-10 skips across the ground, and Red Core 6 is the next casualty. So Eclipse Task Force is able to equalize this at 4 apiece.
Wow. Really seeing excellent use of the Jeff here. This is impressive.
Right. That's a 7 mile SD-10 from Riker on Newbie 2,
Alpha
and a
Whiskey
120 coming
just
back
got
in right now.
Simultaneously. Oh, come on. There we go.
So that SD-10 just disappears there, and I think Riker may be okay here. TAW Frosty now launching a slammer on Breeze, and that one's coming in from 10 miles. Breeze still hot on Frosty, straight into the face of this 120. Launches 2 SD-10s. Looks like one's going for Newbie 2 and one on Frosty there, and evades this. The first 120 from Frosty, the second 120 from Newbie 2 disappears.
But I think Riker's the man that's actually in trouble, and Riker eats a 120 to the face, so now Breeze is the only one remaining. He is the last man. We quickly got an equalization of 4v4 from Eclipse Task Force, equalizing the playing field against TAW, but then everybody died, and now it's just Breeze in a 4v1.
Yeah. Savior firing on Breeze now from the north there at 6 miles. An SD-10 comes out of Breeze in return. And let's see if Savior can get away from this. Looks like he line of sights that.
But it's Breeze, I think, that's in more trouble here, as he's all by himself. And I don't think he has anywhere to go. There's no terrain to mask himself behind. There's nowhere for him to go, and he ends up eating a 120 that he just, I think, discounted. Didn't think it was going to have the energy to hit him, and he gets taken out. And TAW is able to come back after a little worrisome episode there in the middle of the match where they got equalized, equal footing with Eclipse Task Force on that playing field, but they were able to take it out in the end, getting those 4 quick kills virtually simultaneously.
Credit to ETF for showing up and really having a plan to combat what TAW was bringing to the table here. We saw TAW really do, double trouble here with that F-14 and that F-15 kind of taking that approach that we normally see them come in with. And I think TAW showed up with a different enough look to kind of maybe stifle ETF early enough that they weren't maybe able to kind of mount the comeback they would have liked in that. But credit to them for being on top of that F-15 coming in. I mean, he really wasn't able to be super effective. Put a couple really fast, good shots out, but they were evaded. And that SD-10, man, uphill, I think we saw the power of that thing coming uphill there. And I'm not sure what happened. It looked like both of those guys evaded very late on those uphill SD-10 shots there. So I'd be curious to know what happened inside the jet there. It just seemed like they didn't get out of the way quick enough,
Well,
Did he just punch in that Tomcat? There you go. Out of fuel.
Darkside Rob's aircraft is now pilotless.
Maybe was it just Jester? Maybe Jester
Nope,
just got tired.
there is nobody there.
No, that's right, and it's Diamond, so there's no Jester.
Jester went pew and took the pilot with him, but it's Diamond League, so there is no Jester.
Yeah.
But there is nobody in this plane right now as it climbs through 35,000 feet. It is going to be a satellite that will eventually run out of juice and come crashing down. I don't know if he's just out of fuel. His engines are still at 99%. Maybe that was a mistake. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe he's just trying to be funny. But, very interesting in that was how ETF were able to shut down Sineg from the south there. I think Sineg's really high speed, up at 1.8, just played against him. And he didn't have enough maneuverability to defend that SD-10. But
I think he waited
good,
too long.
Yeah.
When you do stuff like that and you're that fast, it's really important that you choose your targets wisely. If you wait too long against a low target and then defend high to low, you're giving all of the advantages to the incoming threat. You're giving all of the advantages to the incoming missile because the missile no longer has to climb. You are coming down from altitude to it, so it's just going to maintain maybe a slight climb or a slight arc coming towards you, and you are rapidly closing the distance, so now it doesn't have to expend nearly as much energy either. So if you want to take these shots and you're really high altitude, in my eyes, you want to take them from a bit longer, and you want to try and pick off somebody that is high.
Yep,
that
there you go.
You can loft the missile at, so that the missile doesn't have to come down through thicker and thicker air. And you want to try and catch the guy off guard because he may think, oh, that missile's coming from 30 miles away, but he doesn't realize that it was launched from a platform of Mach 2.
And it seems like Todd does a very good job of having that game plan of taking those high guys and ripping shots and driving guys down towards the other members of the group that are lower, that kind of feed off that as those planes get driven down in altitude, right? And then it's kind of up to those guys to kind of chew up what's down there after that. So I think TAW did what they do well today, and I think we're able to kind of package it in a way, like I said, to disguise kind of what was going on there pretty well from the beginning. And like I said, I thought that opening kind of play, if you will, was some of the better stuff we've seen all year as far as luring a group in and kind of getting a kill off that. So credit to them there for showing up.
Credit to Tom, but I got to give credit to Eclipse Task Force. They could have been in a much better position if Aspen didn't get taken down early. Aspen,
Agreed.
That was rough. That was
it's tough when you lose somebody early. We talk about that a lot. What that does, that kind of instantly sets you on a back foot out the gate, and that's tough too, I think, to kind of pull through no matter what. So like I said, credit to TAW for coming out with the game plan, but also, like I said, ETF did a very good job, I think, of countering some of it in a lot of different ways. So I don't know, curious how round 2 is going to go. We often talk about the in between round adjustments here. I think we'll see ETF make some decent enough adjustments where round 2 may be a little closer.
Quite possibly. I think their biggest thing is don't have a casualty early and capitalize. This is something I got to point out again. Capitalize on the opportunities as they present themselves. They got really low. They didn't have any trailing friendlies that were able to scan the skies, and Darkside Rob was able to fly with seemingly no situational awareness directly over the entire Eclipse Task Force side at 45,000 feet. He was ripe for the picking. if somebody would have launched on him. So easily could have been taken out and set the stage for an Eclipse Task Force revival, but he was able to fly over because everybody seemingly from Eclipse Task Force was low, and it just made it tough. Because when you don't capitalize on the opportunities as they present themselves, and the other team is able to do that, well, you're gonna be in for a bad time. Unfortunately.
We'll say one thing though, that SD-10 is not to be underestimated.
No, absolutely.
It really isn't. We saw the power of that thing several times this season, and it's once again on display here in the uphill fashion as we saw what it was able to do there, just off pretty close range shot, but still. And like I said, I'm curious why we saw the defense so late on a few of those SD-10 shots. It seemed like they just weren't defending early enough on it. You know,
I think
really
a lot of people discount them because they used to kind of suck. So the SD-10 has been a story in its performance, and I think people get confused on how they should defend on it. I tend to forget what its story's been, but it seems like that missile has gone from sucking to better than the Phoenix to sucking to worse than the Phoenix and worse than the 120C, but on par with the 120B, to better than everything to now better than the 120C. And it just, people I think get confused on how early they should defend, and I think also with it being a smoked missile, people have a tendency to think, oh, that's an ER, I'm okay, and then this is fine, I'm not going to die, and then they eat it to the face because the missile has a ton of energy. I by no means know the story of this missile with its performance, but that's how it's made me feel with everything. That's just how I feel throughout this.
Do we think that Sineg's committal from the south actually changed the overall battle in any way?
No, I think it worked that one round, but now I think teams are ready for it, and teams have realized that if I put a missile on this guy and he doesn't defend it by turning away if he's far enough away, or actually defend it, he's gonna die, right? Because he's way too fast. He can't change direction fast enough if you're close in. It's just, you gotta, if you're the high fast guy, you gotta weigh the pros and cons of that approach. And Eclipse Task Force capitalized on Sineg approaching from that angle. They saw him, they didn't panic, and they were able to make something of it. So are they going to try and do the same thing in this upcoming round? We'll have to see, but I think Eclipse Task Force has got Sineg's number. Right. Now let's flip over to attack view here. I'm going to load up the round 1 tac view. You ready to drive it, Loblo?
Yeah.
Let's see. Desktop.
I'm gonna disconnect and reconnect here.
All right, should be up. You are the instructor,
right,
so you can drive that and have through it while I get the next round ready to go.
Yeah, I'm curious to look at this opening salvo here. I thought that was, like I said, one of the more interesting opening moves of the year.
All right, so here we have that Phoenix coming in from Alpha Whiskey, and let's see what distance he took that shot at. Looks like it's about a 65-mile shot there. And as you say, Billy, we saw all of TAW instantly bomb burst and pump cold on that one very early. So no big issues with that. We saw Darkside Rob fire on Aspen, and that was the one that Aspen actually ate. Now let's see the distance on that shot to Aspen. Super unfortunate to lose a jet that early, and that's also, well, that's a 67-mile shot there from Aspen. And let's just watch this Phoenix in the late stages to see what actually happens here.
He just defends too late. He's too slow to out energy it. He's 30,000 feet. Aspen, I think, was focused on something else, got the missile warning, and then there was really nothing he could do unless he could get below the missile and notch it, which I think is what his game plan needed to do. He tried, it looked like, but in those situations, a lot of time I think pilots have a tendency to panic, and when you panic, your decisions that you make usually aren't in the best interest of your survival.
And I think too at that point in the match, you have a lot going on inside the jet, and if you don't notice that little 1-4 pop up, it's going to be a long day.
Well, and if you're in a turn two, you may not even see it.
You may not even see it there, which at some points of that he probably did enter, where that just wasn't even popping up. But yeah, that's that crucial indicator that 14's radar is targeting you when you don't want to, ignore. That's for sure.
So in terms of the fight from here, right now we're in a effectively what is a 5v5 because Sineg is that far out of the fight that he's not actually contributing to what's about to unfold here. And we've seen in past rounds that Breeze and Riker tend to pair up and form an element, and in this case they're the southern element of the ETF team, and Frosty just occupying them to the south by himself. So let's watch how TAW now deal with what happens in the north here, and we're expecting Darkside Rob at some point to become a GPS satellite overhead as well. Did the stream go down?
No.
Okay.
I had to refresh my browser for whatever reason.
What were you talking about on the TAC view?
I was talking about how Breeze and Riker were forming a southern element. Sineg is still quite far out here. He's still, at this point, 43 miles out. And we're going to watch this situation unfold here in the north now with Newbie 2 Savior. And this is where Darkside Rob up at 48,000 feet and 1.5 just plainly overflies. If we just go side profile view here, for a second, you can see how high above the battle space he is, and seemingly unaware that he has Kingston and Dizzy beneath him. And there comes that Phoenix sorted on Alpha Whiskey, which actually Alpha Whiskey manages to evade. No, I haven't missed anything here, have I?
This is what I was talking about with depth of the formation, and Alpha Whiskey does a decent job of providing depth, but when you're the back player, you have to make sure that you climb to altitude. Otherwise, your view is going to be siloed. It's going to be like you're looking through binoculars instead of wide angle or wide field of view. And him being at 10,000 feet, I think, causes him to not be able to see Darkside Rob. Darkside Rob in this situation is above cons, if I remember correctly. Nobody sees him. Virtually everybody from Eclipse Task Force is much, much lower, at least 20,000 feet lower than him. And the only one providing any depth in this situation is Eclipse Task Force's Alpha Whiskey. And if somebody, I think, was a bit further back, they may have been able to see him. But, it's also very difficult to see people when they're that high and that fast and they're not marking. So you can't discount that either. So I can't put the blame solely on Eclipse Task Force of, hey, they weren't high enough or they weren't far enough back. Man, it is hard to keep track of people, this many people, with that level of altitude disparity when they're above marks. If he was above marks, it would have been easy.
And there's no AWACS either. So this comes down to sensor manipulation. And if you're not coordinating who's looking where, having guys looking certain directions at certain times and rotating that in and out to try to get that picture, painted as best as possible within those jets. And it's going to be hard to keep track of those types of things, especially once the pot gets steered up the way it was initially there, right? When everyone kind of goes defensive.
Right. So there, we just saw Savior take out Dizzy, who looked like he was sorting on Frosty and seemingly lost SA on Savior there. And that 6 mile slammer takes Dizzy out of the game. Meanwhile, to the south here, we have Sineg coming in on his little rampage up at 41,000 feet and closing mark 1.8 here. And we saw an early 120 from him on Breeze, which Breeze was able to defend against. And now he just unleashes a complete barrage of slammers, I think, against Riker and Breeze, but also against the element in the north there. And let's see if any of these hit. I don't think any of these do hit, do they?
No, they don't. Breeze and Riker do a decent job of defending. How far were those missiles launched from?
Right, so, well, he launched one way back here. Let's see. This one here at 35 miles, right? And then he closes the distance to about, I think, 15 miles. Yeah,
You zoom in
15
here.
miles. 15 miles. The next one comes out, and he's descending now through Mach 1.8. That looks like it's sorted on someone in the back, or it didn't track. I'm not
That
sure.
missile doesn't even look like it's tracking.
Yeah, from the other angle.
Oh yeah, it is. It's coming in. It looks like on Alpha Whiskey.
Yeah. And so then Red Core 6 fires a couple of slammers and pumps out. And let's keep an eye on Sineg because he's going to eat that SD-10 to the face here. Looks like that one comes off Riker. And yeah, there's 2 more 120s on the rear element. So at the moment, it looks like Sineg just sorted on the wrong element. I think what he should have been doing was focusing on Breeze and Riker.
He may have
and
not
there
have
he
seen him.
goes. Yeah, there he goes. That SD-10 from Riker just wasted no time in getting up to him and taking him out of the fight.
His downfall there was if he saw them. Now, I don't know if he saw Breeze and Riker because there was a huge altitude difference. He may have just been focused on Kingston and Whiskey, trying to put missiles on them to keep them occupied so Savior and Newbie 2 from his team could continue to prosecute. But if he did see Breeze and Riker, he doesn't defend a low-flying bandit until like 7 miles. And when you're this fast and when you're this much higher, if you wait to defend until that point, you are going to die. So the other thing that he does is instead of defending horizontally, he defends vertically. He goes down, which it only helps the missile. So the missile doesn't have to climb anymore. And maybe he was trying to out-G it in this situation or vertically notch it or something. But in this situation, when there's this much altitude disparity between you and the bandit, if the bandit is lower than you, a lot of times if you have that amount of smash on your jet, defend horizontally or go up and around. So instead of going down, defend oblique over your shoulder and back up, because now you're lengthening the flight path of the missile. You're forcing it to turn. So your objective here is to force the missile to expend as much energy as possible. And if you're going down and defending into it, that's not
You're just
happening.
making it easier.
Yeah. Now from here, actually, once Sineg is taken out of the fight, Breeze and Riker could have committed on Red. Yeah. Okay. Could have committed on Red Core 6 down in the south, who is all by himself. And I don't think they do that, do they? Let's have a look at what happens here. So Red Core 6 commits on Riker with a 120 from, let's see the distance. Sorry, the labels make it a little bit hard sometimes. 7 mile shot on Riker. But, you know, if Breeze and Riker had actually just gotten aggressive on Red Core 6, that could have been... Hang on, what kills him there? Oh, an SD-10 does.
Yeah.
Yeah, from Riker.
This was the one that I was talking about with him where it seemed like Red Core 6 waited. He did the classic, I'm going to wait even though I've got a launch warning coming from an incoming threat to try and get a missile off of my own. And by the time he's launched it and then goes into the defensive, it's too late and the missile plows into his face. So it's, a lot of times in those situations, ladies and gentlemen, it's crucial to not try and push your luck. If you got a missile coming at you and you are already not in the opportune position to launch a missile, you got to just defend. And defend and then run away. If you're going to wait and launch and then defend, odds are you're going to have a bad day and something's going to hit you in the face that you're not going to like.
And it's a shame, too, because at this point in the match, Riker and Breeze have really given ETF like a chance to still be in this match by taking out those two to the south right there. And it just doesn't come together in the way they needed to from that point forward here as Alpha Whiskey goes down and I believe TAW starts to make short work of the rest of these guys.
If you
here.
look at the positioning of what Alpha Whiskey did, he was in a decent head-on incursion. It was a 50-50 opportunity. But now if you look at Alpha Whiskey and Kingston, all of the opportunity lies with TAW. Both Kingston and Alpha Whiskey are already cold. Savior is hot. He's going to press because Savior is hugely aggressive. And I think he capitalizes on both of these kills because he recognizes that he doesn't have anything to worry about. So not only is Savior the threat, but Darkside Rob also put a longer Phoenix out that Kingston now has to deal with. So that's really unfortunate. If you're coming into a situation where both of your guys are defensive and you don't do something like a split turn or something where you can prosecute the singleton of Savior, he's in the driver's seat and controls the fight, even though he's outnumbered.
Yeah, just awesome aggression from TAW up there in the north and taking out Alpha Whiskey and Kingston in short order. And that leaves then Riker and Breeze in an awful situation of what is a 4v2 here.
Talk about back and forth momentum with there, where the match goes from feeling like ETF's in it to just being absolutely out of it in the span of about 30 seconds there. That's a tough go around.
Well, that came down to Savior being aggressive and recognizing that he didn't have any threats. He recognized that both the guys in his general area were cold, and he pressed. And that's what needs to happen. You have to recognize when you have the opportunity. Savior recognized it and made short work of it. Now he recognizes that he's got Riker up there to the north and takes Riker down. So he's just coming in, seeing the opportunities as they come available, and then capitalizing on them. So that shot came within 5 miles, right? But Savior at the same time is very, very low. He's already in a position where he's in a really good place to defend if he has to. So he's trying to get in himself in the best position possible, where if Riker does launch something at him, he can make use or defend it properly. So he did really well.
But hats off to Breeze down here in the south, twizzing on Newbie 2 and Frosty as well. You know, like, these guys are capable. You know, they're capable BVR pilots. It just turned out that after what we saw unfold in the south with Cine going down and Red Corps 6, that raw aggression in the north there from Savior really put his team in a good position.
Riker getting just sandwiched there by Fox 3s.
Yeah, and I didn't even recognize that Riker was in a really poor position because he had the 120 from Newbie 2 behind him, and then he had the one right in front of him, and
nowhere to go.
Yeah, that's a tough position.
Rock in a hard place.
That's
right
a
there,
tough
man.
position.
No, Riker and Breeze, they flew very good matches, but just did not. They got the short end of the stick here as they had to deal with the 4-pack of TAW here to finish things out.
Can you back up a little bit, Loblo?
They fought very hard.
Now look at the Savior, after dispatching Riker, then immediately recognizes that nobody's on him and then presses on Breeze. So if we watch him take out Riker, there it goes. He recognizes after the defense, nobody's here, probably gets communication from Newbie 2 and TAW, hey, the guy's not on you. Defends while launching a 120C very effectively, and it's the missile that he launches while defending. Very dangerous play, but it ends up working out for him.
So Savior kills Riker, Breeze, Kingston. Is there another one that he got? I'm counting 3.
I think it was 4.
No, but Alpha Whiskey ate. Didn't Alpha Whiskey eat a 54?
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. That's right. It was one of those. Was a 54 kill. You're right.
Yeah, that's the 54 on Alpha Whiskey there.
Yep, he got half 13.
Darkside Rob's just moving so fast. He's in and out of there so quick. He barely realized he should that missile. He's gone. He's in like another zip code by the time that thing hits.
Yeah. And that's the end of that round. Eclipse Task Force not able to capitalize on the situations, especially with Darkside Rob coming over the top, succumbs to TAW here in round 1 in a pretty evenly balanced match. It was just when things hit the fan, they found themselves in defensive positions, and TAW, especially Savior, was able to capitalize on those opportunities and take it for TAW, who now leads this match 1-0. So we're going to get things reset. I already got the cameras ready to go. We're going to get things reset for round 2. We'll be back with you for round 2 between Eclipse Task Force and TAW in just a minute. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here at Krasnodar with TAW getting ready to depart against Eclipse Task Force, between them at Krasnodar and Eclipse Task Force at Mozdok. So I'm going to get the real-time telemetry back and set up for low blow. Boop. And real-time telemetry is up, so that should be going. And you are the instructor, so let's see if that works for you.
Yep,
good?
Got that.
All right.
Yep, all good.
So we're watching Darkside Romp, who came in at 1,000,000 miles an hour in that last round, got a couple Phoenix kills, Aspen and Alpha Whiskey, and I don't think we ever saw him slow down to blow like Mach 1.3 there, low blow. Did you see him come down in altitude or airspeed at any point in time? I didn't.
Darkside Rob? No, man. He was like a satellite, honestly.
What do you think Eclipse Task Force needs to do? I think they need to capitalize on these opportunities as they present themselves, personally. But what do you think they need to do in order to take one against TAW in this situation? Because if they lose this one, they lose the match.
Well, I think they did a great job last round, to be honest. They did put up a really good fight, and they did have, a decent amount of SA on what was coming on, particularly with Sinek coming in. This round here, I think they do need to identify any potential overcommits by TAW and shut down those singletons early. And this is a similar theme that I've spoken about in past SATAL rounds, is that these teams that are coming up against the uber strong teams, the guys at the top of the division, the really strong teams still do make mistakes from time to time, and if these teams that are sitting lower in the division can pick up on that and just capitalize on those very brief moments where perhaps someone has overexposed themselves, then all of a sudden we can end up in that 6v5, 6v4, and then the really strong team that has these pilots who can pull off some amazing individual feats like we saw Savior just do are on the back foot a little bit, because the thing is, you can have really strong individual pilots, but if you get overwhelmed with the numbers, things can definitely swing towards the lower division team's favor. So, but I think ETF really need to be alive to those opportunities and execute at the right time. If they can't do that, then we might see a repeat of what we just saw.
Right.
On the flip side, I think with TAW, the really big overcommits that we saw from Sineg and Rob there, those things are to be avoided. There isn't really, I think, a reason to end up over the battle space at 43,000 feet in your Tomcat at 1.5.
No. I think that was just a little bit of a lost dog trying to find home there. It just things happen like that when you don't have AWACS. Maybe it's a breakdown in communication. You think you're in one place when you're not, and he just got lucky that he didn't get poked in the no-no place. So, Billy, I just asked Low Blow what he thought Eclipse Task Force needed to do to equalize this, because if they lose the match. What do you think Eclipse Task Force needs to do here in round 2?
Well, I think what we saw here is probably one of the better examples of two teams showing up with pretty good game plans on how to approach the match. I think TAW just executed theirs a little bit better in that first one, but I think you guys pointed out, those two high contacts for TAW kind of getting into trouble there. Not necessarily Darkside Rob, but Sineg more so kind of getting into trouble there and getting caught a little bit earlier than he probably would have liked to have gotten caught. And I think maybe that F-15 being a little bit more conservative and trying to actually play the role.
Billy, can you move your mic a bit closer?
Sorry. Try to actually play the role of a distraction as opposed to trying to come in and take everybody out in one swoop there, as we kind of saw him attempt to do in that last one. So, like I said, I think the ETF was positioned very well to deal with Riker and Breeze almost kind of being ready, almost in position, like I said, to kind of take on Sineg when he approached. So I think Sineg's best bet is to try to draw them away from that group for a little bit longer and toy with them for a bit more than he did in that first round if he wants to be effective.
So you're saying you think Sineg, instead of trying to kill people, should do kind of what Savior used to do in the Mirage of just pester people, like the fly that won't go away.
Traditionally, I think they're more effective when they approach it from that matter, as opposed to trying to drop the F-15 in from, Angel's, 10 million in Mach 10,000, right? Like, I think you're gonna get more flies with that than you are trying to come in and just shoot at everything all in one pass like that. I mean, you could tell once he was sorted onto, his time to get those shots off, I think, reduced quite a bit, and as a result, he didn't evade nearly as early as he probably would have liked to there, and we saw what happened. So I don't know. Like I said, I think him being more of the one to wait for that right time to come in. They hadn't been, worked up or scattered up enough, I think, for that strategy to be effective at that point in the match.
Okay, makes sense. So, all right, let's flip it up. Let's flip this over. Blow, back to you. What do you think TAW needs to do to solidify this going into round 2? What mistakes do you think were made in round 1 that they need to rectify in order to make sure that they come out of this round winning the matchup instead of going into round 3?
Well, we saw that early on in the last round, ETF really got quite spread out. So we had Breeze and Riker to the south, and then we had that northern element with Alpha Whiskey and a couple of the other guys up there in the north. I think if TAW bring a high level of aggression early on to the element that's thinner on the ground, so to speak, and shut them down early on, then they can really shift the tide in this battle quite quickly. Because they are very capable pilots. They've got a very high survivability rate. I think they can afford to maybe identify which element isn't getting the support of Alpha Whiskey from behind. And if they can see, okay, look, the Tomcat's supporting the northern element, the two guys in the south have no backup, let's shut them down. That might be a good play.
Okay.
I don't disagree.
Billy, what about you?
I'd like to see that ETF use their Tomcat a bit more surgically, if you will, and maybe try to pick off somebody early in the same way that TAW attempted with them. If they can flip that play there on the counter, I think we might see them come out with a better result here if they can get that advantage early on. I think we saw how beneficial that was for TAW in the last round. So, ETF, I think that really should be their goal heading into this initial push here, is got to come out of this with a kill. I don't think this is a no-shoot situation for them.
Sure.
TAW, I think, on the other hand, has that benefit to, either, the old, you can either run this or pass this here. And I think, on the flip side there, ETF doesn't have that option. They have to pass the ball here. They really have to try to come out of this first one with a kill, I think.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think Eclipse Task Force, well, we were talking about what TAW needs to do, but I'm going to flip that over. Eclipse Task Force, if they want to win, needs to... No, you were good. I'm changing the topic here. Eclipse Task Force, if they want to win, needs to get the first kill, in my opinion. They need to get the momentum shifted to their side. They're coming off of a loss here in round 1. They need to get the momentum onto their side. I think if they can win round 2, they will have a landslide of momentum going into round 3, which we all know, in my opinion, is hugely beneficial to the team that wins round 2 going into round 3 than it would be winning round 1 going into a third round. So if Eclipse Task Force is able to get the first kill here, set the trend, set the stage for how this round is going to play out, I think that's going to be crucial in making sure that they're able to at least have any semblance of playing on equal footing with TAW. TAW, as we saw in round 1, does really well at making things happen out of situations and opportunities as they present themselves.
Right.
Savior got 3 kills back to back to back simply by prosecuting and pressing when he saw openings. And he thread the needle there. He walked that line on that last one against Breeze, but he made it work, right? Even if he died, he still had 3 other TAW combatants remaining. And Robski says he actually had 4 kills, so he killed over half the team. But so Eclipse Task Force needs to themselves capitalize on opportunities as they present themselves and get the first kill in order to be able to play on or have an opportunity to take this match here in round 2. I think TAW, their downfall going into in round 1 was situational awareness. I think Darkside Rob got really lucky flying over the battlefield that he didn't get taken down. Sineg, I think, pressed in too deep. Billy, I think you hit it there, that Sineg needs to be the honey that tries to attract the flies and then drag them into more advantageous situations for TAW instead of trying to get the kills himself. So that's what I think needs to happen.
No, I think
something is. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you can see that ETF was prepared for what Sineg was doing there. They had Riker and Breeze in position to the south to kind of catch that, and I think that was one of the few. Once things started getting underway there, that was one of the few things they did right. There was kind of be perceptive enough to pick up on Sineg. So, and not easy to do without the AWACS as well. So.
Well, I think something that may have made that easy was Sineg was probably painting them, and he was probably coming down through marks.
Right, and they saw that they were wise to that
now those are assumptions. Those are great assumptions, so don't take my word for it. But that's what I'm guessing happened in order to make him so visible to the opposition there.
We'll see here. Somebody referenced earlier who the first Phoenix shot is going to be, and I'm curious of that myself. And that also worth noting, Sineg just leaving now.
Do you think that's beneficial at all?
Rob,
and Darkside Rob too.
I was just going to say, we're seeing Darkside Rob shifting to the north again. I would have liked to have seen Rob maybe sort on the south on Breeze and Riker and mix it up a bit, but we're basically seeing, a replication of what we saw last round with where he's heading.
It does.
There's a strong chance that Riker and Breeze are going to head south again, and if they're down there by themselves, maybe the Tomcat applying some pressure to those two guys could result in an early elimination of the southern element of ETF and shift the favor early to TAW. But Darkside Rob heading to the north again, where I'm expecting to see most of the ETF jets. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I would be trying. If I was TAW here, I'd be trying to work the bulk of the ETF guys to either side for those flankers to pick up on, right? So get them scattered, get them pushed either north or south for either the 14 or the 15 to attempt to pounce on. I think here might be a decent strategy for them. I'm not sure what we're going to see out of these JF-17s out in the lead here for ETF. They look like they're poised to try to either draw a shot or take a shot, one of the two.
Comey saying in chat, we want to see the keep the Tomcat out of the mountains there. Yeah, Comey, what I'm referring to is Darkside Rob, sorting on the southern targets from a safe position, so he is able to Shinobi. No, come on. But what I mean is it would be good to see Darkside Rob commit on Breeze and Riker from a safe position out there over the flatlands. So not actually position himself over the hills, but apply some pressure to Breeze and Riker, who like to work together. But let's see if what I'm suggesting is going to happen actually happens. Are we going to see Breeze and Riker position themselves to the south again, or are they going to apply some pressure in the north this time?
Well, the part that I'm interested to see is if Darkside Rob is going to be able to capitalize on an early Phoenix kill like we saw him do against Aspen in round 1. Because if that happens, it's going to be rough for Eclipse Task Force to come back against TAW. I mean, it's an uphill battle to begin with, I think, in this situation, given what the statistics and stuff we've seen on the website. But it's even more so if we couple that with taking the first casualty.
And to that point, nobody shoots on that first foray, and they're both lead flights come in towards Bulls, don't shoot, and turn back cold towards their covering flights. And now it looks like everybody from TAW is cold, right? At least
it looks like everybody from both sides is cold.
Cold, yeah, you're right.
Nobody wanting to prosecute here. Nobody wants to be that first casualty that I just spoke about, because if you're the first casualty, man, it is awful. The only thing worse is if you suffer a disconnect, because at least with a kill, you know that you were there. Disconnect, it's, to me, yeah, you didn't die at the hands of the enemy, but it's like, is that going to happen to somebody else? That mindset, it changes to, am I going to lose somebody else on my team to the internet, which we all know is one of the one of the greatest KDs in the world, right up there with the ground. So.
All right, so let's break this down right now, just to bring everyone on the same page. So we have seen a 60-mile Phoenix from Alpha Whiskey. We saw TAW do exactly what they did in the last round, which was all pumped cold. Now seeing them begin to recommit. Breeze and Riker again positioning themselves to the south, and Darkside Rob all the way up there in the north. Sineg, late departure again and heading down to the mountains, up at 40,000 feet there. So right now, this is looking very close to what we saw in round one. Darkside Rob finally sending a Phoenix downrange there for 50 miles. Looks like that's heading possibly at Dizzy or Aspen.
Now, you say that it's close to what we saw, but something I will point out is that Sineg seems to be closer than he was last time. What's your timestamp in TAC view, by the way?
I'm at 32 minutes, so 2 right now.
Okay, yep. Okay. I didn't see that Phoenix.
Yeah, it's up there. It's sorted on Aspen by the looks of things. Currently up at 65,000 feet in Mark 5.
Not seeing it.
Yeah, I don't see
Okay. That's really weird. I'm looking at that clear as day on my screen right now. Some data is missing. All right, let me disconnect and come back in. Hang on a second. Yeah, I'm seeing it right now. I'm seeing it.
You need to unload. You need to unload the round 1 TAC view.
That works.
Because I don't see any. There's no Phoenixes in the air right now. You're making us live a lie.
On that note, TAW now defending, and both sides now defending as if shots are coming out. And there, folks, there might be shots coming. Oh no, there it is.
There's the Phoenix.
There it is. Okay, now I'm seeing it come off the rails from Darkside Rob.
Yep.
And
No,
Alpha.
the reason that looked like round 1 was because that was round 1. So that's hilarious.
That'll do it.
So here comes a second Phoenix from Darkside Rob. They're both going up. Not sure who those are on yet. We can see them headed off on their merry way on their Mach 4 voyage, going up to 60 or 70,000 feet. And then Alpha Whiskey responds with one of his own as it takes off towards the TAW side. But I think the important thing here is seeing who these are going to be on. And it doesn't look... It looks like they're on the trailing guys. They're on the trailing elements here of the... Oh, come on. There we go. There we go. They're on the trailing elements for the Eclipse Task Force side. So Alpha Whiskey is way back, 65 miles away from the TAW front line. And Darkside Rob putting both of those Phoenixes onto Alpha Whiskey and Super, who are in the way back of the Eclipse Task Force side. But Alpha Whiskey is really, really high. And he's got Phoenix coming in on his position. This is not a good place to be. Not a good place to be at all. So here come the Phoenix onto Alpha Whiskey. Alpha Whiskey's at 31,000 feet. He's not very fast, 200 knots, and they are getting close. Both those Phoenix are still over Mach 3, and Alpha Whiskey and Super, this is a bad time to be them. So here they come. Alpha Whiskey's now defending. He's dropping down through 30,000 feet, but he is really slow, and that Phoenix has got his name all over it, and he gets pulverized by that missile as it comes in. And now we've got Super trying to defend this incoming Phoenix, and I think he's going to be able to get away from that one. I think he's going to be able to notch that. I think. Yes, that missed him. So he was able to get away from that just barely. But Alpha Whiskey, much like in round 1 from Aspen, causes Eclipse Task Force to lose the first pilot of this match. And TAW is on the advantage here. They've got all of the momentum carrying
let's have
into
a look
this
at
round.
this. Right now, we have Dizzy and Kingston outnumbered in the south. We got Newbie 2, Savior, and Sineg once again coming in ultra high, ultra fast here, 41,000 feet, Mark 1.55, and you know, the ETF guys absolutely down in the weeds. You know, on the deck here. Savior starting to apply some pressure to Kingston. Let's see, that looks like an 8-mile slammer on Kingston. I don't know if Kingston's going to be able to survive this, to be honest.
Let me try and get where you are. You're on Kingston. Where are we at? Let's jump over here. Yeah, he's going to be, everybody should be okay. Oh, we're looking at Kingston. So Kingston has this missile coming in on him. We're riding along with Kingston. There it is, 1.6 miles back. He's dragging it. Should be okay. He's at 600 knots, 2,000 feet, which is not 2,000 feet. He's tree level. He's going to be perfectly fine. That missile is out of gas at a half mile behind him, and I think he's going to recognize that. The thing that I want him to do, though, is to recognize that early so that he's not just wasting time running away. But now the new one we need to watch is Breeze coming in against TAW's Frosty. So let's flip over to that view, and they are a head-on incursion. There goes an SD-10 from Breeze, and I didn't see there was a 120 launched from Frosty. So these missiles were being exchanged, and the 120C fired from Frosty is going to be getting a bit closer than the SD-10 did, is going to fired from Breeze, but both of those aren't going to be coming anywhere near their intended targets as Breeze is able to drive that one into the ground.
Yeah, in the south, we're seeing some aggression here. Sineg over the battle space again, like a satellite, up at 42,000 feet overhead of Dizzy and Kingston. And where is he going? It looks like he's beginning to sort on Breeze and Riker in the north, if I'm not mistaken. No, he's turning out to the south again. So whether he's lost SA on who's around, but he is so high up that, you know, he's having to look possibly at Super all the way down the back there, or he's going to have to pump out cold and get some distance and then re-sort himself out. But right now, the situation is that we've got this 2v2 down low between Newbie 2 and Savior against Kingston and Rio. That slammer coming in from Newbie 2 on Kingston there, 8 miles. And he is still pressing into the face of that slammer. I don't know if he's going to get away from this, to be honest.
Oh, and I need to pause this. Okay, I need to...
Oh, wow.
I need to regroup here and see what exactly is going on. So we've got 5 pilots remaining for Eclipse Task Force. We have 6 pilots remaining for TAW. And Dizzy and Sineg are now merged, and Kingston is in a bit of trouble. I think that's a 120 targeting him, and it is at 1,200 knots, headed straight for his face. So is he going to be able to get away from that? I don't know, but Super is isolated back here all by himself. So Kingston is the man we're going to watch here. Oh, that is not the one we're going to watch. So, that's not the right camera.
Malta, the thing is, my TAC view kept running when you paused, so again, I'm going to have to disconnect. Apologies, unless you give me a timestamp.
37:55 is where we're at. I guess I'm just trying to set up the cameras so that we don't miss anything here. Come on now. Let's see. Make sure that this one's nearest aircraft. Where is Sineg?
Now,
Sineg's at 42,000 feet. No wonder.
Yeah, he's all the way up there over the top. Now, if Newbie 2 and Savior can apply some pressure and shut down Kingston and Dizzy in the south here, that is going to completely change the course of this battle. So I'm pretty interested to see what's going to happen down in the south here with this 2v2 and Sineg over the top there, whether he can actually apply any pressure anywhere. But being that high up and this close to all the bandits is going to make that a little bit hard for him. I think he's in a bit of an awkward position
Sineg
up there.
may be tunnel divisioned onto Super. So he's right over Dizzy. Dizzy and Sineg don't see each other. Dizzy has it's Kingston that has a missile within like 2 miles of him that's ingressing on his position. So I think the things we need to watch are Sineg ingressing onto Super, and then Kingston, if Kingston is able to get himself out of the situation he's in with these incoming threats. So we're going to hit play. We're going to see how this all progresses, and I'm going to try. We may have to hit pause again so that I can make sure we don't miss anything, but here we go. So we're riding along right now with Kingston, the map over top. Here comes the 120, and it barely misses Kingston. But the other one we need to watch now is going to be Sineg ingressing onto I think that's on to Dizzy. So let's flip over and look at Dizzy. So Dizzy is right here.
That's on Super, isn't it? He's just unleashed a 120 on Super.
Yeah. Where is it? We got to make it. No.
Add a second one on Super now from 11 miles. Super defending hard against the first 120. Is he going to be able to get away from the second, though?
I don't think he got away from the first. No, he did not get away from the first one. And we're going to pause it again to make sure we don't miss anything, because I think things happen here rapidly. Super gets taken down by Senek, who's able to fly over top unimpeded during this incursion. And I think the next one that we need to pay attention to is Dizzy. Dizzy's in deep trouble. Where's that missile? It is right there, 0.2 miles away. So let's flip over to Dizzy's perspective, and I'm going to try and get the other one set up. I don't know who the next one is. We're going to try and have to see. I think this is going to be this one. All right, here we go. We're going to hit play and see how this unfolds, but I think Dizzy's in a world of trouble. So here comes the missile, 0.1, and smash! Dizzy gets taken down, so he's down and out, and then Super's down. Who's going to be the next one? It's a missile coming in onto Kingston. He's got a 120 headed for his face, 2.5 miles away. Don't think he's going to be able to get away from that one. He gets smashed. So now we're down to a 6v1, and now it's Breeze, who's all by himself again. Don't see the missile. There it is, 1.5 miles away, half mile, and he's going to get taken out if he doesn't drive this one in the ground, and Breeze gets smashed. So Breeze gets taken down, and I think the only one left is now Riker. Riker is all by himself in this situation, and he's totally surrounded.
He's got a 120 on him from Red Core 6 now.
Down. So guys, that was 5 kills in 40 seconds.
Wow. That happened fast.
I think I
Who
caught
was
all
it
of
in
them.
chat that said that Low Blow, that I've got a surprise for you? Was that the surprise? Because that's one hell of a surprise. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that was
40
fast
seconds.
and furious.
That was impressive. What do you guys think happened? Billy, we didn't hear a lot from you. Let's hear from you. What do you think happened there? I mean, why did that go the way that it did with TAW just dismantling Eclipse Task Force in that?
Well, they seemed to split them up, and it seemed like the rear aspect of ETF did not support the forward aspect enough, or the forward group enough, to really help out with what they were facing there for at least a good portion of that. I'm not sure what happened there when everything kind of started hitting the fan. It was a bit difficult to keep track of. I lost my TAC view at one point there. I was trying to get it back up, so I kind of lost after, I'd say, the first maybe 1 or 2 passes. My, I guess, SA on it kind of diminished a little bit.
Low Blow, what about you? What do you think happened there?
Well, my SA for the first half of that was totally screwed because I was actually looking at the round 1 TAC view, commentating it like it was round 2. So
well, you didn't miss too much there at the very beginning.
That fight.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, it was pretty similar to what we saw in the first round there, as far as what happened in the early minutes of it.
Yeah, it really was, because instead of Aspen dying, it was Alpha Whiskey. But I think the problem there was they lost their Tomcat there early, which is not something you want to happen.
Right. They weren't able to really benefit from that, those Phoenixes.
Well, what was the logic with Super being so far back as well?
I don't know that there was any logic. I think it was just more of him getting caught behind and not being able to catch up. Well, Super was back there with Alpha Whiskey, but Alpha Whiskey died. So originally he wasn't back there by himself. He just became a singleton after his wingman died to the Phoenix. But I don't know why you would put the Tomcat that far back. That was an interesting strategy choice by Eclipse Task Force. So not sure what was going on there. They were both 65-mile shots being exchanged between Darkside Rob and Eclipse Task Force, but Darkside Rob, or whoever that Phoenix was on from Alpha Whiskey, was defended well, and Alpha Whiskey just got caught too high to defend that missile as it came in at Mach 3, because the missile didn't have to expend any energy. Well, let's take this time, ladies and gentlemen, to catch up on everybody that has donated today. So let me scroll back and see if we can catch up. Monk gifted 2 community subs. Gordo B gifted a community sub. Gordo B gifted another one. So that's 2 for him. Samurai resubscribed for 21 months. Welcome back. Ordo B gave 5 tier 1 gifted subs, then gifted 1 to Striker. Much appreciated. And then Athena Jazzy donated 2,500 bits, followed by Monk for 500 bits, and then Comey threw a penny at my face just to make sure that I'm awake. So thank you, everybody. This is going in to make the stream better. So my next thing that I'm going to try and do is we tried to do it today to get the dedicated cameras, but something was going on with the actual pilot views where they weren't working, and they haven't been working in the latest, I guess, versions. We're going to try and get that fixed. I'm going to work with a couple people after this stream to see if we can get that corrected. But I was going to try and do that on at least 2 of the cameras, and I think I can bring up another 2 cameras. So my goal here is to have 2 to 4 cameras from dedicated pilot views, which I'm pretty sure my PC can do, and then 2 external and map views, so we can flip back and forth between things. That's my overall game plan for all of this. The biggest thing that I'm happy with lately is we got the lag and FPS stutters and stuff taken care of. Those are gone. Those are a thing of the past. Thing of the past as I hiccup and burp, and I don't know what my body decided to do. Yeah, it was that was rough. It was like my body decided, hey, let's go through puberty. Oh no, we're not going to do that. We did that a long time ago. I don't know what that was, but it tried something and then it didn't work. So
you're fragile. Getting fragile.
I guess my body just doesn't know what to do with itself, I think is more the case. But TAW is able to take it here in 2 rounds and not have a single casualty there in round 2. So kudos to them for making that work. Red Core 6 and Frost, you're able to put it down on the deck and make that happen. Jaster says, did you get a 3080 or 39? I did not. I'm still on a 2080 Ti. But what I did do is reduce the need for VRAM, so I cut back to low textures, which seems to have helped my GPU immensely because I was bottlenecking. The 6900 XT does look really good, but with all of the stuff that's going on with our new house, I need to be really careful about what I spend because we're spending a lot on other stuff, so I just have to be really careful with all of that. But the dedicated cameras, guys, they are coming. I don't know if we're going to see them this year because maybe the latest patches broke them, but we're just going to have to go back and see what ends up being able to happen. I've got the horsepower to know how to do it, but we're going to have to see if it ends up going down. Low blow, or Billy, we'll start with you. Any closing comments in today's matchup? TAW looked pretty on par here with what we thought they were going to come out. A little worried about them in round 1, but what were your thoughts overall for this match?
Yeah, we saw what we usually see out of TAW today, which is showing up with a pretty standard game plan, executing it fairly well, and winning those individual battles out there in rather spectacular fashion today. The usual suspects performed quite well. You know, your TAW saviors of the world definitely showing up, pulling their weight, and then some today. So, you know, and once again, not to take away from ETF I think also played quite well today. They just ended up, like I said, on the short end of the stick a few times there. A couple different situations go different directions, and I think we might have seen this go a different way here. We might have ended up being in the 3rd round. Who knows? But both sides played quite well today. Good match overall. Very entertaining for me at least.
Low blow. What about you?
Well, I think it's interesting that a team as experienced as TAW can still, you know, with AWACS not being present, still mess it up from time to time. You know, we saw with Sineg with the big overcommittal and Darkside Rob getting overhead like he was a GPS satellite. Yeah. You know, those things do still happen, and those are the types of opportunities that I'm talking about, where a team like ETF can eliminate those guys and shift the tide into their favor. So. Unfortunately, they weren't able to today, but you know, it just shows that in SATAL, from time to time, those opportunities do come up, and it's up to these teams that are lower in the division to capitalize on that.
Right.
All right, are you ready to go in the TAC view?
Yeah.
All right, let's flip over to the TAC view and see what actually transpired here. I'm already ready to go.
Rewinding. Yeah. You guys can see this. Okay, so. We see the early Phoenixes come from Darkside Rob sorted on Alpha Whiskey and Super, and we saw that pretty clearly during the actual round, so I'm not going to harp on that, but we see Alpha Whiskey get taken out, and Super narrowly missed one. That could have been absolutely huge if he would have eaten that, but as I said, it was quite confusing to me that Super decided to hang that far back with Alpha Whiskey. I don't think he was lending too much to his team in that position, because now it just takes him ages to actually get anywhere useful. But then basically what we see is this what is effectively a 2v2 in the south here, with Newbie2 and Savior facing off against Dizzy and Rio, because Sineg ends up once again over the top of this fight. If I just roll this forward over here at 42,000 feet, and the only thing he can really sort on is Super all the way back here. You know, he's not lending anything to this fight that's taking place beneath him right now. If anything, he's just a liability, because you know, there's nothing to say that one of these JF-17s from underneath could pop an ST-10 up at him. Likewise, Breeze or Riker, an ST-10 on Cynic sort of there could end things quite quickly for him, because he is you know, about 20 miles. So easy pickings up there at the moment at 42,000 feet and Mach 1.75. That speed far too fast to actually defend effectively against anything, because as you pointed out last round, Malta, if he wants to defend, you know, really he either has to pump out cold at 42 or do what he did last time and come down to the missile, and then you know, that's we've seen how that ends up. So anyway, right now at this point, I think this is a pretty interesting point in the fight, where we've got this this low level 2v2 in the south, which sort of unfolds. But I think what happens is that we see some of these jets up in the north here eat one. It's which one goes down first? I think it's Breeze, is it, or Riker? No.
Super gets taken out by Sineg.
Super gets taken out by Sineg. Okay, yep. So that's here. So good job by Sineg this time to actually make some use of his position over the top there, and pick up on the fact that Super was all the way back there, low-hanging fruit, so to speak. But then, you know, again, he is so high up here. Let's have a look at this. Well, 30,000 feet at the moment, but it doesn't look like he has any SA on Breeze or Riker at this point. So it is a really interesting tactic to me, and one that comes with risk, I think, as well. You know, it's not a okay, I'm just going to dominate from up here in the troposphere, because he's quite vulnerable up there at the same time. So then we see. Sorry, because I don't have the kill sheet next to me right now.
I think it's the Southern 2 ship that dies.
Yeah, you need to help me out. All right, so Dizzy takes a slammer from Savior there. He goes, and then Savior also manages to kill Kingston. And at that point there, we're into a 6v2 or 5v2? 6v2 at the moment. TAW haven't lost a single aeroplane. Breeze then dies, and then Red Core 6 takes out Riker. So yeah, the elimination of that southern element by TAW with some good aggression from Savior again really shifted things. Sineg doing good work on the trailer Super there, and then once we had this position where the southern element was gone, Breeze and Riker completely surrounded on all sides, and you know, not much of a hope there for them at that point.
But this is the same thing we saw last round, where everybody from Eclipse Task Force is defensive, and when they're trying to recommit, they're recommitting into contacts that are already hot, which makes it very, very difficult to be aggressive. So you can see that Riker is recommitting into Darkside Rob, Breeze is recommitting into Red Core 6. So they have to not only recommit, but then they have to find the contacts that are hot on them to be able to shoot. And the contact that is hot first has all the advantage in this situation.
Right. But if we look at it from a strategic point of view, you know, this is again the school of fish, you know, in the middle, surrounded by predators, so to speak, you know. And once TAW were able to eliminate the outliers, you know, what we see is that really, even at this early timestamp here, ETF are in effect surrounded. You know, there's nowhere for them to go. Dizzy and Rio can't really bust out to the south and bracket Savior or Newbie 2. They're kind of stuck here, and no matter which way they turn, they're going to be turning into bandits, as you just pointed out there, Malta. Billy, what do you think?
No, that's exactly what I'm seeing here, and I think the fish example is pretty good there. It's exactly what we're seeing here. They kind of closed in around them, and you see that from their formation kind of early on as they're kind of fighting and jockeying to get into that position on ETF, and ETF just isn't able to really combat it effectively enough to push around it or outflank what TAW does here. TAW just very Johnny on the spot with opportunity arises, missile comes off rail, and we see that done to pretty good effect here.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the SINEG tactic then, overhead at 43,000 feet?
I mean, it certainly can be effective. There's no doubt about it. Just the amount of energy that it can produce on those shots. Here he's, was Super being left back by himself there really the smart move for ETF that low? I mean, I'm curious what the strategy on that is. What is that doing for him, for them? What is TAW supposed to be reading that as? Like, was he supposed to be hidden? Because he wasn't.
What could have happened here is Eclipse Task Force could have been trying to take this as a more patient outset, but TAW being hugely aggressive didn't allow that what's the word I'm looking for? That game plan to develop, and they crashed into the patient side, and then it was all bars off. The gloves had to come off, and Super was probably back there with Alpha Whiskey. This is an assumption. With Alpha Whiskey trying to wait for the lead 4 ship to come back and egress away, and then they were going to come hot. But with how aggressive TAW was, none of that was able to develop, and SINEG was able to just crash through without being seen at 40-some thousand feet, Mach 1.8, and then obliterate Super in the back end.
Sacked quarterback right there.
I mean, let's look at this situation right here, and parts of this do make sense to me, but also this is fraught with risk, particularly when you don't have AWACS. SINEG basically circling the battle space at 30,000 feet, and if he turns in, he's in such a position, like let's say that this ended up as a protracted 2v2 in the north, 2v2 in the south. The problem that SINEG has, from my perspective here, is that he doesn't know who's who in the zoo, right? So he's just going to be lobbing Fox 3s into a fairly tight space without actually being able to know who's blue and who's red. Correct me if I'm wrong.
He's in that F-15. That F-15 is going to get instantaneous IFF. Its IFF is always going to be right or wrong. So he, of all airframes to be in that situation, he's probably in the best one that's going to be able to interpret that. But nevertheless, that doesn't change the other point you made, which is lobbing the 120s into merges. You don't want to do that. It doesn't matter how quick your IFF is. Even if you think you have him locked, that stuff is still going to get dicey when planes are merged in very close in together like that. So I think you make a good point where you do have to be careful where you go start chucking spears into tight groups like that. So I don't know. He's in a decent position here, but not a great one, I think, at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah. All right, that's all I got.
Yeah, I think that wraps it up. So we're gonna jump back, and I think that's gonna be it for us. Let me pull up the cameras. There we go. So that's gonna be it for us, ladies and gentlemen. We are gonna be out for 2 weeks because Moltar has to move, as was said at the very beginning of this stream. I don't know what we're gonna do when we come back. We may try and do multiple streams at this, like multiple matches at the same time. I may do something. We may skip them. I don't know what's gonna happen. I need 2 weeks off because we're moving, and I've got a lot of stuff to move, and I don't want to be stressed having to stream, my wife having to do things with the kids while we're trying to move, and it would just be a mess. So I hope everybody can understand that, which means our next stream is going to be not December 5th. It is going to be December 1st is going to be our next stream. So we're going to take the week of next week off, and then the following week. And the following week's actually Thanksgiving for the U.S., so that works out for us anyway. But the next stream is going to be December 1st. Not sure who it's going to be yet. who's going to be flying in that match, but we're going to be off for a couple weeks. So I just want people to be aware that I need some time to get some stuff in order so that I'm not freaking out and having an aneurysm over here in my house. And then you guys don't get any streams because Moltar's dead, which is not something that anybody wants. I mean, some of you may want that, but you know, no streams for you if that's the case. But that's going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. That wraps up today. Eclipse Task Force taking on TAW. TAW takes this one 2-0 in, I think, was actually a closer match than what it showcased. So I think if Eclipse Task Force could have done a couple things differently, this could have gone a very different way. And something else that I need to do, learn emojis, is I need to get emojis and the emotes for this stream. So that's all I got. Billy, you got anything in closing?
New WoW. WoW's website's finally up. Ton of new designs on there. Check that out. I'll pop a link there. We got the DCS World Twitch section with Moltar shirts, Low Blow shirts. So we got that all set up now for the different content creators in the DCS community to have their gear in there and be able to get their fans out there to their stuff. So trying to work those type of things and more. And then I've added a bunch of new designs and stuff like that. So stop by there, check that out. I'll throw that link in chat right now. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm geared up for the holiday season, ready to rock and roll.
Loblo, what about you?
Not too much. I was just going to say for the guys in chat there, Moltar, did you want to maybe get a list up early for which special fights in SATAL we may be showcasing out of the 2 weeks where you're away?
I just have to think about it. I got to think about what we're going to do, and I'll go from there. I'm going to have to weigh how much time I have versus what is beneficial to the teams on what we're going to do. Somebody suggested, cut out the ingress and egresses and just try and get through them quickly. That may be a possibility, but that's a lot of tracks and stuff that I need to figure out. So we'll just have to see. But anything else, Loblo?
No, that's it. Everyone have a good 2 weeks off from SATAL, and we'll see you when we're back.
Yep. Right. All right, guys, that's all we got. So stay safe in those virtual skies. Be watching for that DCS update coming next week. Hopefully the Phoenix gets fixed. But I'm back in the air. If any of you guys fly between, 1400 Zulu to like 2000 Zulu, I'm usually on. Send me a message on Discord. Maybe we can get in the air. So that's all I got. Stay safe in those virtual skies. And until next time, have a good one.
See you.
See ya.